This video talks about how are we going to utilize or how are we going to use our own data in R Studio and manipulating those on different statistical components or statistical um, approaches or analysis in R. So if you remember during the third video or the previous video, we actually discussed about data frames and the structure of those data frames, like how it treats data in terms of um, columns and rows, and we utilize the datasets which are already available here in R Studio, which is the Iris dataset. So for this session, I'm going to show you how are we going to use our own data. What if we want to get a data from an external data source? So for instance, an Excel file or a CSV file or a tab delimited text file, and use those data stored in those external files in our script or the one that we're actually working right now. Alright, so RStudio will help you import your own data, and to do this we use the import dataset button in the workspace tab. So we can be able to make use of this tab here, which is import dataset, if you want to make use of data from an external data source, like for instance from a text file, from an Excel file, from SPSS, which is another statistical analysis tool, from SAS, and from other data source. But if you want to do it programmatically, we make use of codes. Okay, so we actually use the read.csv if we want to use a CSV file. Alright, so for instance, I have here on the files CSV file. Let's look for a CSV file right here. So I have here from my home directory in this Mac machine, I have here a cross-validation.csv, which is saved on my home directory. Okay, so you just use the code read.csv and then just put the name. Where's the file again? There, cross-validation.csv. So I have a cross-validation.csv. Right. So if I run that one, there. So it's already displayed here in the console. Alright. So what if I want to put it in a data frame? So you can just put that on a specific variable. Like for instance, so what is this cross validation? I think this is the one I'm using for my research about mosquitoes. So let's try here, mosquito species, and then remember how we save values to a variable. So it's just like saving whatever the contents of this CSV file here will be saved in a data frame of a variable named mosquito species. So once you run that, there, you'll be able to notice na dito sa ating global environment here, there's already a new variable named mosquito species, which is a data frame with 121 observations, meaning 121 records, with 2 columns or 2 variables or 2 fields. Okay, so if you are not using RStudio, if you want to automate the loading of data from files, instead of using RStudio menus, you can read files using this one, read.csv, or even read.table. So you make use of read.table if you want to read white space delimited files. Okay, so yung CSV, from the name implies CSV, we make use of this for comma separated values. Pero if your data source is white space delimited, you make use of read.table. Okay, so you have to be careful since I'm in a home directory, so I just place directly the name of the file. But if your file is located somewhere else, like for instance it's on, let's say, the downloads folder. Is it loading so slow? Yeah. So I have your downloads table, and I'm going to look for another CSV file. There's a lot of file here. Well, there, filterbanks.csv. Let's try this. So since we moved to another directory, we have to make use of this one. So it's just like getting the path from the data of the file. So we have your filter banks, or is that filter banks.csv? Filter banks.csv. Okay, so let me run that one, and then the mosquito species has been updated. So here's the content of the mosquito species. Okay, but this is on a different directory. So just separate it by the / depending on where specifically your file is, something like that. Okay, so if you remember as well on the second video, I guess, when we talk about the different packages, one of the packages which we imported is the Mosaic package. The Mosaic package. So Mosaic statistics and mathematics teaching utilities. So it is very important for you to use that one, because the Mosaic package actually includes a function called read that file. Okay, so we have read that file. Okay, so what's the difference between read.csv, read.table, and read.file? So since let me write it here, I don't know, read.csv, I'm going to put comment. Read.csv is for comma separated values. Then the other one, which I previously mentioned, is the read.file for the white space. Read.table for the white space delimited values. Values. And we have the read.file, which is under the Mosaic package, which we actually use for it actually uses a slightly different default settings. It infers whether it should use a read.csv, read.table, or even load. Okay, so primarily, if you don't want to be very specific about the file type that you have, whether it is a CSV or a white space delimited, you can just make use of read.file. So si read.file na mismo, this function will be the one to determine whether the file that you're actually working with is a CSV file or a white space delimited file. Okay, so siya na yung magde-decide whether will it read that CSV, will it read that table, or even load. So this is from Mosaic package. That automatically reads the file format. Alright, so that's read that file. Okay, so for instance, we want to make use of this read that file. Let's just see that it really works. Mosquito. Okay, so this is a different read that file, and for instance, we're going to make use of the same file here, which is a CSV. So when we run that one, so we have had here an error, could not find function read that file. So most probably because we haven't loaded the Mosaic yet. Packages, we have Mosaic there, so just click that one, and let's just wait for the package to be loaded. So I think it's done, so this code is no longer necessary. Let's try to run. There. So we've encountered an error before because the package mosaic is not yet loaded, or wasn't loaded yet. So since read.file is under the mosaic package, so it's very important that you go here first to the package and make sure to click that one so that your console will show the progress that is actually being loaded on the current script that you're working with. Let's try a different file, which is what's the file kanina? It's the cross validation.csv. So let's try that one. So there. So we use the read.file, but it has here reading data with read.csv, meaning the read.file actually interferes and decides what specific reading approach will it use. So we have here the Mosquito file. If you want to view that one, there. Okay, so I guess there's something wrong with the previous file. That's why I wasn't able to read it properly like that. So if we're going to run this, it will just show that one. And if we're going to read head.mosquito, then it will show the first few parts of the data. Alright. So, and read.file also sets the number of defaults, including the header, that it automatically sets the header as true, meaning the first row of your data is recognized as the column header. Alright. So apart from this, you can also load data directly over the internet. For instance, you have a specific file hosted on a specific location over the net, so that can also be used. So like for instance, I have a birth, which is a variable. Then I'm going to read that file. I'm just not sure if this file is still available online now, but let's try. So I have http www. This is actually my source for some of the references in studying R. Edu slash. I'm not sure if it would work. RP ruling. If it doesn't work, then we'll just change the file. Data. I have birds.text. I'm going to set header equals true. Oops, should be header. There. But I'm not sure if this file actually exists. Can we just visit it first before we try? Oops. Okay. Come on. Document not found. So my address is actually wrong. Oh, should be this one. Should be this one. There. So let's try to access this data using this command. Let's try to run. Yeah, reading data with read.table. So we just make use of the same command, read.file. We haven't actually specified whether it's a comma separated or a tab delimited values, but it looks at the extension of the file name for it to decide whether it will be using a read.csv or a read.table. So it actually loaded on the birth here. So if you want to view there, so we already utilized the data from our data source and they saved it from the variable birth. So sir, if I change data from here, will it automatically change here? Of course no, because we saved it on a variable, which is birth variable. So if you want to update, you have to rerun this specific line of code. Alright. So that's how you actually import or connect your data from an external data source, or save an external data source to a variable for you to utilize it. Since you know how already to save it on a data frame, then you can already play around with those data. Alright, so for the next video, we will be discussing about visualizations, graphs, and we will be utilizing another set of packages. So that's it for now.